Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on chess.com, and I just got paired up playing now a 3-2 game. Alright, let's try and stay ahead on the clock. Okay. Maybe we could treat the clock as 10 is the new 0. Maybe we could start something like that. Treat the 10-second mark as if it's 0. Alright, so we have the light square bishops opposing each other indirectly right now. I'm going to look for a d5 break. This could enter a hedgehog structure with the dc pawn exchange. I'm fine with this. Light square bishop exchange. I'm going to look for a setup where my queen eventually is played into f3. I'm going to play e3, b3, bishop b2, f4, queen f3 in some order. Not quite sure. Is black thinking about a d5 strike? c6 is maybe a bit tender. d5 right away, queen a4. So I'm expecting castles. And you know what? Maybe I go for e4. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I go for this bind over the d5 square. Yeah, let's try that. I mean, I could still try for f4 and queen f3. Let's get this move in first. He's probably going to be a target. Yeah, let's get these moves in. b3, bishop b2, before there's some pressure on my pawn, and even the knight on c3. So, ensuing moves after the bishop is on b2, f4, and queen f3 is played, I could think about g4, and g4, g5. And then maybe there's something exciting here happening on g7 with the knight being kicked. So, probably get this in right now. f4. Let's try it. Maybe my knight's challenged right away. Knight c6, no. So let's get queen f3, and my knight is unprotected with this last move, but I don't think it could be taken advantage of. b5, I have a ton of pieces on that. So, maybe now g4, g5. This strike with e5. After the g4 move to try and grant access to the e5 square with the knight. That does give up the d5 square and f5 square. If my knight is pressurized, probably just rook a to d1, maybe even if it isn't. Maybe if it doesn't even have pressure on it. I have some concern about a b5 sacrifice as soon as my rook is not on the a-file. Is rook coming to life here? Maybe I keep him here. Although I don't like entering complications with an unprotected piece here. a4 is probably not too good because of the pressure on b3. I'd like to get a4 in. a4, knight c5, rook to d1. Should my knight get kicked, it's going to go into f5. And then maybe I'll have knight d5 here. My queen will defend b3 laterally. Well, let's not get too crazy. Let's get another piece working. If this move happens, I mean, I'll be taking with this knight. I still have my knight on c3 defending a2, and I could follow up with a4. Okay, so now there's not really so much of a idea with that. Let's go for g4. g4, g5, h4, h5. I don't know, just grab some kingside space. Let's see what black does in the meantime. Whether the pawn is on g3 or g4, my king is equally accessible more long term. But yeah, let's start with the kick. Yeah, let's rock the knight back. And now I might want to take a moment out to address this possibility of e5. No. e5 right now. Knight d5 hits. Let's grab some space. I could look for h5 g6 undermining the e6 pawn. They may need to do this, but that opens up this diagonal. I might have something really quick, like knight f5. That actually might be quite good. Knight d5, although I'd really like to have a knight on h6 or something. Let's see what black comes up with. I mean, I could, after my h pawn is exchanged, I could look to play in the h file. Queen h3, rook h1. Queen g4 is, I think, a pretty decent forward move, putting pressure on e6. Okay. H4 Bishop G7 H6. Or just capture. Knight D5. Where would I really like to have my knight? On G6. If I could get him here, that'd be nice. Under a minute. Or about a minute now. F5. Maybe F5. It gives up Knight E5. But you can't have it all, can you? Let's try and open up the F file. I'm giving black one very good square, and they have now one very good piece. Yeah, Knight E5, Queen H3, actually. Let's keep pressure on this pawn. Also, maybe I could think about doubling on the F file. I'm reminded of a game that was just played in the Rapid World Chess Championships between Ivanchuk on the white end and Rajabov. Okay, so this cannot be good. Knight D5 right away, right? Yeah, let's hit that. With tempo here. I'm expecting Queen B7 at least staying opposite. Maybe this was too quick. I don't know. Queen B7 seems like the only way to keep pressure on the white position. I'm going to take here soon. Because it could be challenged too. After pawn takes, there's Knight C7. Do I have something better? I wonder if I should take with the piece. Knight takes F5. That way there's no Knight C7 to challenge this strong guy. Pawn takes, my knight's in a pin. B5 is hitting soon. Huh. Yeah. I'm going to do this. On Knight C7, maybe I play Knight F3, challenging this knight and reinforcing D5. I'll try to put pressure on F7 really soon. Let's do this. Challenging their knight. I'm not really a great fan of retreating like this, but there's maybe even tricks with Rook C2 at some stage. They're under 15 seconds. Try and keep the pressure on. Ooh, sacrifice. Alright, things are heating up. What to do here? Let's back up. My rook's going to be unprotected. I need to defend my second rank. My knight's in a pin. I need to get out of that. We take here. They're not playing with their bishop just yet. This seems like a good start, I think. Now my knight's not in a pin. So that's nice. And probably just reinforce. I think this is important to reinforce here. And probably take, maybe not so fast. Yeah, let's take and push H5. Yeah, actually H8. I'm just seeing right now I have H8 ideas. Rook C2 check. King F1. A little scary here, for sure. I could still play Rook D2. Oh, trades I am welcome to. Maybe I could have played King takes Rook. I have E1 covered. Let's take once. Queen E6. This has to be good. Queen trade. Don't have to take just yet. They're in a pin. King position. That's just helping me now. Here, avoiding Rook A3 with check. Now we're going to take and get to this. This is the new 7th rank. Rook check. And then Knight E5. Nope, he's pinned. Rook here. Get behind the pawns. Let's improve like this. Yeah, I could do that. Let's see. Let's just go here, and now I could block with the rook check, Knight D4. Let's get here, hitting the pawn and threatening to kick the king back. Let's do this. And we're going to just stop the pawn from moving anymore. Rook here, maybe. Although knight check. There's no stalemates because of these pawns here. I think I could invade with my king. King here and then rook here. Mate threat. Threatening the pawn now. That's actually going to be mate. They missed that. They were in serious time pressure. I tried to stay ahead. I think I did a bit more decent a job on the clock this time around, but interesting game. Before I have a look at it with Stockfish, what can I really add? What kind of thoughts of my own can I put into this? Yeah, I referenced that right around this point I wanted to go for e3 and f4, but I think this is more common when this pawn has already committed to d6. I felt that if I was to go for e3 here instead of e4, that d5 would just be good. And yeah, it probably would be quite good. And I don't think I would have anything but regret of giving up my light square bishop and having my king vulnerable on the light squares here. Yeah, anything more? I felt that d5 later, much later on when things heated up. The d5 advance by black really helped me because my knight on f3 was then free. And it's certainly getting very sharp here. Maybe some things were missed right around this point for both of us. But yeah, this is an interesting point here. You know, giving up this strong e5 square. You know, white wants one thing. White wants to have the position open up, the f-file open up, and it's just one of those I don't know, give and take situations. You have to give something up in order to get something. So with f5, I'm giving up e5 in order to get the f-file opening up. Queen h3. Maybe this wasn't so correct. Queen h3. I mean, I guess it turned out outright. Much further down, Queen e6 happened with check, and then that's when I started to really feel comfortable. She's just a tremendous piece on that square, but that's getting a bit ahead of myself here. Queen h3, it seems sensible, I guess. Just putting pressure on e6, which at this point is hit twice, defended once, so now it's hit 3 times, defended once, and it will be collapsing, and as a result, I will get the d5 square. I've given up e5, but this pressure on e6 grants me the d5 square in a couple moves. And this must be better for white, but yeah, I wonder instead of knight c7, or even instead of the sacrifice, maybe this was just too, you know, how about just b5, not giving in, not giving up the material so easily. What about b5 here? That'll be the other one to look into. Just not giving up the material so easily. I could crash through here. Not quite, though. He's still in a pin. My king is quite vulnerable. Yeah, I think maybe I'm worse right here. And they maybe panicked a bit much. Yeah, maybe they panicked a little bit here, investing this material. Or they didn't see the idea of just blocking, retreating here to defend the second rank and getting out of the line of fire. Yeah, probably b5, I'm thinking. Yeah, b5, pressure on c4 now. And I'm still having to work out of this pin. Yeah, I think black is actually better here with the b5 advance, but we'll have to confirm this with the computer. So give me a minute, I'll bring it up and we'll see what we can take away from this one. Okay, let's see what we could take away from this one. Just getting past the opening here, we pretty much following theory for these first 10 moves or so. Castles, okay. Suggested queen c8 is another, I guess, to quickly get on that light square diagonal. e4, let me test this e3 move out. Does d5 hit? Certainly something is given up. Doesn't like e3. You're really just throwing your advantage away. Calls for queen c7, but I imagine d5 is good too. There's something off with that. Takes. Okay, so black has to take a little bit of care with playing d5 right away. Yeah, this e3 move is allowing queen f3. With or without that f4 move, it opens up queen f3 idea. Okay, so then I could look to play against an isolated pawn, at least, if I wanted to go for that. Takes, queen takes, e takes, and then rook to d1. Yeah, this would be nice. Okay, so d5, quite often a liberating move. The black end in what's like a Sicilian here. Maybe not so fast in this case after e3, but you know, there is still queen c7. The e3 is the wrong idea. Queen c7 first, and after b3, now you could hit with d5. How is this a little different? Oh, I can't take right away because of the knight being unprotected. Okay, queen c7 right away. Maybe even this with an a6 b5, going for something like that really quick. Interesting. Okay, so I didn't go for e3 at the end there. Instead e4, placing a grip over d5, d6, b3, so just a slight pull on the white end. f4. Wants to go for g4 right away. Played queen f3, okay. Okay, let's hold on for a moment here. Because with this next move, it's a 0.8 advantage. I certainly have to give it some time to think, but yeah, there's something a little bit off with this last move. It's calling for knight c5, knight c5. Maybe looking for some pressure immediately on e4. Rook a to d1, h6. Tough to say why h6 right here. And g4. Knight up to d7. Okay, well, you know, here's another thing I could point out is that as soon as this knight is here, I mean, where did he end up going when g4, g5 hit? He played to e8. So maybe having this knight here has this as a new possibility. Something to consider. Don't know that it's necessary right away, though. I don't know the timing of this move. It's this is a position where I'm finding it's just much easier to play on the white end. You know, black is, you know, they have this hedgehog structure, but I have the breaks under control at this point, b5 and d5, and I don't see how black, and it's not completely clear to me how black goes forward and improves their position, whereas, you know, it's pretty straightforward. This idea of g4, g5, h4, h5, and trying to attack the black king. Yeah, it's, you know, evaluation-wise, it's saying it's better for white, but it's also a case where it's a bit easier to play on the white end. Just get the rook in there. I maybe spent a bit too much time worrying of this b5 break and the pressure on a2. That's pretty much no issue for me now. No issue now as soon as the rook committed to c8. Now it does call for g4, g5, and it's already +2. And I probably had something much more convincing, so bishop f8, natural, but just not working out here. It likes g6. And even this is tending towards a pawn advantage. g6, g5. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Instead of retreating, being in a position to move forward and reply to g5. But even so, I mean, we're seeing it here. Given some time, it's climbing. The advantage here after, should the knight end up on g5, or excuse me, h5 instead of e8. We have queen g4, knight c5, and still f5 is hitting. Let's actually test something out. Suppose the knight does not yet commit to c5 and still prepares to meet the f5 move with knight to e5. Let's say, I don't know, tough to find a passing move. Actually, how about this? Oh, okay, there's just some direct sacrifice happening. The queen takes e6, king f8, and now f5. Oh, man. Okay, yeah, sure. And, you know, you're giving up a minor piece for 2 pawns, but it's more than that. It's the square that's given up d5, and that's too much. Got the f-file opening up. Every white piece is now attacking. Stranded knight. Offside queen, one might say, as soon as this knight plugs up the d5 square. Okay, so interesting to just be aware also of a piece sacrifice on e6. Okay. G5, knight back. How could I have done better? Instead of H4, it doesn't like H4. It likes immediate pressure on E6, queen H3. Or even G4, I imagine? Don't know what the big difference is. This seems more natural. Queen H3, not the most, more natural to maybe see that if the pawn has already played to H4. So you're just not, you're not obstructing your H-pawn from contributing to an attack at some stage. I don't know if I'll be able to figure that out. But played H4, not losing the advantage, but not the best. Now F5. Queen H3, okay. Knight D5 right away it likes. It's tending towards +3. Now H5. Okay, we're probably going to have a shift here. Yupper. Oh, the capture on F5 is not correct. Oh, you know, only later in the game did I start to realize I have the possibility of playing queen to H8 in connection with my B2 bishop. But maybe I should have already been considering that as soon as my queen was on H3. Yeah, how can I maybe steer clear of doing a move like this in the future? What I am doing is placing myself in a pin. That's one reason to maybe shy away from this natural capture. And another thing is to maybe not be so fixated on material. You know, I'm trying to regain the material here in a way, right? They took my pawn, I want to take back. But maybe that's just unnecessary, huh? +4 now, given some time with this H5 move. Yeah, my knight's not in a pin. And even if they grab another pawn, this is just collapsing with captures. And let's see the fantastic mate. Yep, mate in 14. It's already feeling like there might be some queen H8 move as a start, but yeah. Let me back up for a moment because I think at this stage black would realize, you know, I need some 7th rank defense. Let's take with my pawn, allow my queen to defend. But then in comes knight to E6, and just every piece of white's is doing something good. Computer called for knight G6. It's the recapture, but then that gives up F5. It's too much. A knight on D5 and F5? Oh boy. Okay, so I went with the natural and not good. It's really should get out of that frame of mind and get on with this advance here. And you know what? Let me backtrack a little bit because now I can make maybe a bit more sense of queen H3 immediately without playing H4. Maybe still there's some ideas of attacking on the H file. I wonder about Rook F5 or F5 and then Rook F4 to H4 stuff. I don't know. It's still a little bit of a mystery why it's suggesting queen H3 here. Okay. Anyhow, I recaptured with the pawn, and this is where I threw away my advantage. Just that one move. Knight C7. Isn't it at this point I was considering, well, what about B5? That's not working. Because of takes, and then what? Oh man, knight E6. Wow, sharp stuff. Takes, queen takes. And then knight F7 has to be played. Oh yeah. King has to defend the bishop. Let's say king here. The knight's now in a pin. H5. Oh man. She's just a tremendous piece on E6, isn't she? Coordinated well with the dark square bishop, having the queen on a light square. Controlling a ton of light squares, and he's around to cut the king off, or at least pin a piece. Oh, that's sharp. Knight E6 shot, not even taking a piece. It's another, I don't know, another variation where we're seeing knight E6 happens, and in this case it isn't even taking a piece. It's just incredibly disruptive, the coordination of both queen and knight on this square. These are things that will help me to remember these tactics in future games. to, yeah, 96 hitting even when there isn't a pawn there. Okay. Knight c7, that's pretty natural to pile up on that pinned piece. I played knight f3. Takes, rook takes, and now b5. Oh, it was, yeah, that's right. At this point, it was b5. Okay, yeah, they went in for this, and it's just not working. I guess this is best. b5 break. Rook f to d1. Knight f3. I think this is more natural to take here. But actually, that's a problem because I'm threatening here on d8. Knight takes, queen takes, and now getting out of the pin. Okay, so evaluation-wise, it likes white, but it's much more scary, for sure. Naked king here, no pawn protection. I mean, I have control over the light squares, but yeah, not nearly as convincing as that immediate h5 instead of a capture on f5. Okay, well, they got into, maybe they got a little bit too scared around here, thinking that they needed to invest some material, but they could have gone for that b5. Anything slip from here? F takes g6 is better. Just trying to consolidate. Still +2. h5 now. Yeah, this is too much. No, it likes knight takes better. Only a pawn advantage. Rook takes d4, knight takes d4, queen e7. Oh, pressure on g5. Maybe queen e4 stuff. Still something for white, but something was definitely lost. And yeah. Takes, pawn takes, and then after queen to e6, that's going to be it. It's too active. It's only giving it as a +1. Queen f7. This is much easier to play for white for sure. You know what? I was helped out with this last move. I said it during the game. This check, I'm just improving my king position. The rook should really stay here. This takes, and then calling for rook b2, and I guess then look to push the a-pawn. My king is cut off. Yeah, this would have been better resistance. Because right now, I just kind of view this position as the queen's already off the board. And, you know, this would just be helpful. You should better just keep the king cut off. So I already felt like it was much easier to play as soon as the rook check happened, and this is only helping me further. It likes queen e4, keeping the queens on the board. That wouldn't have... It's not my style at that point. Just looking to simplify a bit. And I don't think that anything was spoiled from here. Just as mentioned during the game, this situation here, as soon as you construct it with the knight and rook, the king is in stalemate. So, I mean, if these two pawns weren't around, there's ideas of some perpetual with the rook. You know, in some cases, if you're taking the rook, then it's a stalemate position. But, yeah, black's far away from having that idea in mind because of the A and B pawns still present. And, yeah, that's going to pretty much do it. What's best here to give a check, but I'm picking up the pawn, and then I could move the king out of the way and start thinking about pushing the g-pawn. Okay, yeah, interesting game. Certainly this e6 square, the coordination of both queen and knight on this e6 square, quite interesting. Landing in some cases with the capture of a pawn, or even without the capture of a pawn. The queen, having a queen one day residing on that e6 square, quite powerful in some cases. All right, anyhow, interesting game. As usual, feel free to leave any feedback in the comment section below to this video. And as usual, I hope you got something out of it. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.